joining me is Jyri. He's the Global Head of Creative Partnerships at TikTok, today's leading short-form platform. Now, TikTok essentially aspires us to be more creative. It brings a lot of joys to everybody using it essentially today. And we're excited to, through our partnership, have a bit of a discussion with you today and share some of the insights on what makes TikTok a leading platform today. So maybe let's ease into a simple question.
Sounds good.
How would you give one word to explain the digital trend for 2023?
I'd say the one word that comes to mind is authenticity or authentic.
Yeah.
I think the marketing or the advertising exchange between consumers and advertisers has been advertisers anticipate what consumers are looking for, build brand messaging and deliver that. I think given what we've been going through in some new platforms like TikTok, authenticity is going to be something that consumers are going to demand from marketers. And they're going to want to have the marketers meet them where they are and kind of understand who they are at a deeper level, and also kind of iterate on what the value exchange is. And I think for marketers, this will be a pretty uncomfortable shift at first. They're going to have to learn to be more vulnerable, and they're going to have to learn how to lean into their consumers and listen a little bit more. But I think they'll be surprised by doing this and being more authentic and kind of showing them who they are, with all of their whatever they come with to a consumer. The consumers are going to respond well, and I think there will be more loyalty and there'll be more of a deeper sense of community around brands if brands can kind of embrace this notion of authenticity.
Yeah, I think it's a great answer. Do you think it's also a result of the fact that consumers are a little bit more wiser, that they can actually definitely see an ad versus maybe real content, and that they're almost asking for this?
Yeah, I think the radar around ads is definitely at an all-time high. I think there's so many messages, and we're in front of a lot of different screens now. So I think consumers, some of them can recognize an ad coming a mile away. And I think because of that, they want to feel that the ad is speaking to them and more engaging with them. And I also think that consumers are wiser in the sense that they have a better sense of who they are and who their identity is at a deeper level because of the communities they can create either online by finding subcultures and other things that truly identify who they are. And so because they know who they are, I think they're going to require brands to also come meet them at who they are, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if they can get that right, it's going to be just a deeper connection.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
I can actually relate to that myself. And with this changing ecosystem, what do you think are the biggest trends going to come up for TikTok?
Yeah, I mean, I think one is embracing this authenticity, right?
Yeah.
And so brands really taking a hard look at who they are at a deeper level, and going through the exercise of understanding what they stand for, who their audience is, and kind of how they want to show up with that audience. I think creators are another thing that just is going to be something you hear a lot about from us and from the industry. I think they're going to hold a very kind of a more important seat at the advertising table with the brands. I'm an old school hip hop fan, so as Wu-Tang would say, cash rules everything around me, I say creators rule everything around me. I think it represents kind of the importance they are to our platform and the importance they are to brands. And I think, back to this notion of authenticity, I think, creators are also, could be a brand coach, right? And so coach brands on how to kind of lean in and how to understand how to talk to these new communities. Another trend I'd say is something that we're calling entertainment commerce. We're an entertainment platform first. We sit at this intersection of kind of community and entertainment, and I think there's this, you're going to see a lot of developments and innovation from us, and how do we connect commerce and shopping with our community, and also using entertainment as the lever to do that, where I think some other platforms, it's more about kind of just putting product in front of audience based on some characteristics. I think you're going to see us take a different approach there.
It's really interesting because we kind of briefly discussed this today already, how creators are playing such a significantly different role, right? So content creators, it's not new, they've been around for quite some time, but I think the way they are functioning today is vastly different. So I like the fact that you mentioned that they're going to play such an interesting role in kind of almost educating brands how to be more authentic, because essentially that's how they've managed to be successful on the platform. Do you think brands will find it easy to make the switch where they are now leaning in versus the ones essentially directing their content?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it will be easy in the sense that they're going to get it right away.
Yeah.
I think brands, and we're seeing this now, brands that are looking ahead and understand that this dynamic and this relationship is changing, and that authenticity and being a little more vulnerable is kind of emerging as something they need to, I want to say trend, but it's more than a trend.
Yeah.
I think they're going to, I think the important thing is that brands need to really understand how to develop a creator strategy and kind of understand what creators they want to work with, almost as brand ambassadors or brand coaches, where they can educate the brand on how to show up, how to be more authentic, and how the community responds to that brand. And then I think there's also a component here of brands working with creators on how to develop just more content in general. So not necessarily represent them as a creator, but be more of a creator in the truest sense of developing assets and videos and things like that that help the brand show up in the right way.
So it's an actual true partnership.
Yes.
I like the fact that we're shifting away from just being project-based or campaign-based. Like, this is an actual partnership, which I think we can all look forward to see. Kind of bridging into the fact that you said this is essentially one of the trends, right? And with trends come often quite a lot of buzzwords. So the first one I kind of want to touch on is community commerce.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, TikTok is definitely amongst the front runners when it comes to community commerce. And the hashtag TikTok made me buy it has over 11 million views on the platform. Billion. Wow, that's a significant bump up. So why do you think consumers are turning to social media platforms to essentially influence their buying?
Yeah, I guess I'd love to start by saying, we don't identify as a social media platform. Okay. And I say that because it's a true reason why this is so successful. If you think about our platform, consumers come to be entertained, to engage, to find community, to be inspired, to find joy. They lean in. They're looking for happiness. They're looking to kind of walk away in a better mood. Where you think about social media, it's more of a click or a check-in experience, and we don't identify that way at all. So just that's one call out. But yeah, back to the question. The reason I think we're so successful, going back to this notion of authenticity, I think it's that TikTok made me buy it, and just commerce on TikTok in general. It's all of the things that we just discussed. Is that these brands are showing up in a very authentic way. They're not just putting a product in front of a community. They're almost making the shopping experience part of the community. I almost see TikTok made me buy it as the intersection of authenticity and community. And because of that, like it's resonating at a deeper level. It's almost like it's got a little like sneaker drop in it. Like it's like kind of something that's trending quickly that people want to be a part of, especially if it can hit the right community. And it's a phenomenon that I think surprised us in the beginning, but again going back to brands that are keeping their ears and eyes open and then listening, and not kind of coming in with judgment or with a plan first. They're the ones that are able to kind of really take advantage of these things and make them work.
So I like that you made that call out, because often social media does kind of feel like you're observing. You're just kind of seeing what everybody's doing. And I can definitely relate to the fact that there's much more of community. So the moment somebody actually posts something, it's a lifestyle that you're engaging with, and that you can actually see how people want to engage with their content. So what advice would you give advertisers if they are looking to kind of sell products and services via TikTok? But often the mistake would be that they would take a social media strategy and try to implement it in what is not really a social media platform.
Yeah, I mean, I think first advice I always say that it's put your guard down. Kind of start with the platform being humble, listening, eyes wide open, and by putting your guard down, this whole notion of a trust fall, like a brand needs to fall into the platform and understand that there will be a community there to kind of support them on that fall. And then once you feel that you can fall and be vulnerable, I think you start to take more risks and start to try new things. And then with that trial and error, you're going to land in a better place that's a more refined sense of what your brand is, and a more refined sense of the community that wants to engage with your brand. And then I'd say the next advice I would give is that really embrace these the platform dynamics around trends and sound. TikTok is a very unique place that sound is such an important element of what we do, and a part of TikTok. I think brands really need to pay attention to kind of the sound and how sound shows up. Being a sound on first platform, so when you open the app and you open TikTok, so the sound is already on. That is also something brands need to learn. I don't think other platforms, they don't consider sound as one of the first things they need to incorporate in their assets. And then the other platform dynamics of, hashtag challenges, the fact that our community is showing up so frequently, and the fact that you can find every community on TikTok, I think is also something that, I think at the third piece, I guess, would be around this community notion that brands can, once they discover who they are and how they show up and getting a response signal back from their audiences, I think they're going to realize that every type of community is there, and it's a way that the community supports themselves. As like Sid likes to say that, a lot of times community is in the comments.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable to see that, however you identify or whatever, your communities are, you're going to find people there. And I think brands need to realize that, really just pay attention to kind of a deeper level. Like a lot of times segmentation happens at a much broader level.
Yeah.
And I think community for us, it's just, you can take it down a level, so.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm absolutely there for the comments as well.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where I get most of my insights, when I see content being created. And I think it's the advice that you've given is so good. And you kind of mentioned how when brands kind of fall into this community and they realize how different their approach needs to be and their trust needs to be, that these content creators are there to stay. So how do you think TikTok is helping essentially shape up these partnerships between the content creators and the brands?
Yeah, I mean, we have the TikTok Creator Marketplace, what we call it TTCM for short, is our effort to make creator marketing faster, easier, and more performant for brands. And so right now, the TikTok Creator Marketplace, there's two components. There's an API, and then there's also a first-party user interface, which is our own tool. But the goal of both of those is to really unlock creator marketing at scale. And so, again, making it faster, making it easier, making it more performant, and what that really means is that if we can help brands be successful by working with creators at doing and hitting their objectives, we'll win there. The other part of the equation is making creators have a place where they can make more money, feel like they can show up and do their best work. I think once you can put those two sides together at scale, and at the heart of the creator marketplace, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, I think it's a really good balance, like the kind of give and take thing. Yeah. So people are more likely to want to see some advertising because they feel it's a little bit more genuine, it's in a space where they feel comfortable, it's very much part of their personality, and I think that balance is struck really well with the platform. Last question.
Okay.
So this is still the first day at Cannes, and one of the first things, of course, we've noticed, and everything's kind of been centered around the theme. The theme is moments that move the world. What would you say, in your opinion, is a moment that moved the digital industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's a really interesting question because I think there's lots of moments, and we've, this has been, the last 3 years has probably felt like 10 years in this space. But the one moment I'd say that is the most interesting to me, and I think moving the industry the most, is this notion of back to real life. It's almost the opposite of digital. We talk a lot about digital innovation, and there are moments there, but I actually think the more interesting thing is that people are returning to kind of this real life, and that's different than it was 3 years ago. For the past 2 years, we all developed digital habits that were almost pushed on us because we were at home, we weren't traveling, we needed things to support us in a different mode. And I think as that mode comes back to real life, and we're traveling with friends again, we're discovering our communities again, and our sense of self, and what we like, and what makes us happy, our digital habits are all changing because of that. And it's going to redefine, I think, the industry for the next probably 5 or so years. Specifically at TikTok. I mean, TikTok was a huge app during the 2 years when people were at home. But what we're seeing is that their habits are changing and accelerating on the app as well. It's one funny story I always tell is that, like, my mother, who I've worked in digital my whole life, and most of the platforms I've worked with never really resonated with my mother. The one thing that now that we're back to real life and she's shopping more and cooking more is that TikTok food TikToks are something that she's found, like, it's changed her life and her menu planning. And for my mom, who's an older lady who doesn't use digital that much, to say that TikTok has broken through to her, I think for me it's a sign that yeah, that we're landing well, so.
Yeah, and I mean landing everywhere,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
This is fantastic insights. Thank you so much for sharing it
Yeah,
with
thank
us.
you.
I think everybody's really excited to see what's coming up ahead. I think everybody can agree that so far it's been really successful and great work.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So.